Hello, everybody. This is Global Warming Skeptic, and this is another episode of The Young Turks is Exposed. And this one is just, it shows complete ignorance. We have lost so much of our knowledge over just the past 20 years, I'd suppose, maybe less than that, about international incidents and reasonings for various things. In this video, I don't think I need to show context because it's a pretty simple thing. Kyle here goes off on a rant about Obama going to Hiroshima, but not apologizing for the nukes. And I just want you to take that in for a second. It's unbelievable how much knowledge we've lost as to why we've done things a certain way. See, unlike Kyle here, who's pretty young, I'm 32, so I'm kind of on the fringe of the newer generation. But I was also alive during the Cold War, during the USSR. I still remember the nuclear drills in school, all that. So I do know a tad bit about this stuff. And one of the things that I learned this in elementary school, and I think it's a powerful message when it pertains to the war against Japan. Forgive and forget. I will never forget that message as it pertains to Japan from elementary because as I went through my education, learned more and more about the war, and I've done more independent research to find out the details of the war, what both countries did, what all the countries did that were involved in the Second World War, you realize how powerful that statement is and how much that statement needed to apply. And to go away from it is to completely ignore and throw aside all of history. Forgive and forget. Let me just explain what that means. That means we've all done bad things. During World War II, it got so bad as to we had to suspend the Geneva Conventions because the war was just too intense. We were all breaking them anyhow. So we all did things. America, Japan, Germany, the allies of Europe, we all did it. We all attacked civilians for intimidation. We targeted schools, hospitals, factories, infrastructure, you name it. We bombed cities. We carpet bombed whole cities, indiscriminately killing civilians. And then you get the nukes on Japan. The nukes on Japan was just following this code. And now, don't get me wrong, the nukes on Japan were wrong. 100%. I don't care if the Soviet Union was going to invade, which, by a turn of luck, Japan actually ended up better because we did nuke them. But whether they ended up better or not has no bearing on the fact that, yes, dropping nukes was wrong, but we were all doing it. So that's the important thing is you forgive and you forget. Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, took prisoners of war, took Asian women as comfort women, as sex slaves. They oppressed, killed, tortured, maimed. They did everything too. And this is just saying everybody did bad things during World War II. So dropping the nukes is just the finality of it. And so for Kyle here to come by and say, yes, we should apologize, that is not going to do anything. What does apologizing do? All that is a political statement. The last thing we need is to reopen something that we have both of us nations have forgotten about. To reopen old wounds, to open up for both us and them to politicize something that happened 80 years ago, close to 80 years ago. That's not right, because now what you can get is the Japanese leadership are going to be poisoned with, we have to distance ourselves from America. See, here's the thing: Japan is probably our best ally in the Pacific region. We need Japan. They are a powerful voice in the UN. They spend a huge amount of their resources in the UN as a voice, as humanitarians, as concerned citizens of this world. We need Japan, and we need them on our side. We need their productive capacity, and I think their culture, to a lot of people, especially me, I think they have a beautiful culture. And I want to preserve that great relationship we have with them. Keep in mind that Japan, I believe it's like they are second or third in the world in terms of their viewpoint of the United States. Their people love U.S. citizens more than almost citizens from any other nation, and that is precisely because of our recent history being tied to them. We are tied to one another. When World War II ended, we didn't just leave Japan to get eaten by the sharks, the many angry enemies they created. And they had a lot of enemies. No. We kept the military presence there. We helped them rebuild. We built their schools. We built their infrastructure. And we gave them an example of an economy to copy from and emulate. And ever since then, the Japanese standard of living has been rising a lot. And they are much better off. It is one of the beautiful nation building stories that we have. Probably the only one, the only time we've really been successful is with Japan. And that is because with Japan, we didn't politicize it. We didn't have to send a cultural message. We didn't go on some apology tour just to get political brownie points with one sector of the American people. No. We helped them because there was a consensus that it was the right thing to do. We obliterated their country. They had no infrastructure, they had nothing to work with. So I think we all, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, we all knew that we had to help Japan. It was just the right thing to do. Apologizing is not going to help them, especially 75 years later. It does nothing. You're just going to open up an old wound, and you're going to create strife and grief and tension between the two nations. And we don't need that. Trust me. We've got a lot of other problems with a lot of other nations. We don't need Japan's support to lower because we tried to apologize. Because it's just a needless gesture. There's no point in it. Period. And that's pretty much all there is to say about it, because at the end of the day, we've both been integral to each other, and we don't have to bow down, and we don't have to make unnecessary gestures to earn extra points. Thanks for listening, and God bless.